Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden. I'll be joined by David Cole. And the event that we will look at today is the United States Pro Kart Series event, the Carolina Grand Prix from GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. This week's show presented by Kartlift. 15 years of bringing racers the best karting products is what Kartlift is all about. Whether it's the industry-leading winch lift motorized lift stand, our stand-up tire changer, or our chassis skid plates, you can be sure that our products are well thought out and designed to make your weekend more productive and to save wear and tear on your body and equipment. Kartlift kart stands, built in the USA, built to last. All right, David, let's do this, man. You were down in what I guess was another hot weekend in North Carolina, down at the USPKS event in Mooresville. Some great racing, though. I tuned in throughout the weekend to get some of the play-by-play and enjoyed it, and it seemed like there was just really good racing going on.
Very good racing, Rob. One of the biggest issues, obviously, was the weather throughout the weekend. You know, I kind of finished the weekend just done sweating with the humidity, and it just was a thick air. And to be honest, you know, everybody says, well, it's a dry heat when you go to Phoenix. It's a dry heat. You don't feel like you're being suffocated all weekend long with the air. So I would gladly take the 105 temperatures we had in Phoenix over the 100-degree heat index that we had in North Carolina.
Wow, you heard it here today, folks. David Cole would rather be in 106 degrees in Phoenix than 98 and sweltering in North Carolina. I understand it. That's the kind of summers we have up here in Ontario. It's hot, and it's hot right now. We're always talking humidex, right? It's always, you know, up in Canada, of course, in Celsius, it's always 35 degrees Celsius with a humidex of 45. And when you get humid like that, especially on a weekend where you're racing and you're running in and out of air conditioning, potentially up in the tower, it makes for a tough weekend.
Just, you know, staying cool was obviously the number one objective for everybody, you know, whether it was just sitting in the shade. You know, thankfully the grid at GoPro Motorplex has the big shade tent there, so people can sit underneath that. So at least gets you out of the sun. But you know, if the breeze wasn't blowing around, it really felt miserable. So obviously, when you're in the cart moving around, you know, that's better than sitting in, you know, your suit waiting, you know, whether it be you break something on the sideline or you're sitting on the grid. But yeah, so there was a lot of ice cream being used, a lot of popsicles, you know, people using towels and umbrellas to stay cool. You know, a lot of that was the main focal point.
Now, Dave, you've, you know, obviously 2 years ago, GoPro was the season opener. Is that in your mind? Do you take a step back and say maybe GoPro a little better if it's run in either March or April?
Actually, 2 years ago was actually during the summertime.
Okay.
Last year was an opener, and every year other than 2016, it was in April. So yes, we were just there in March for the WK race. You know, typically USPKS opens a year in Mooresville. This year, opening up in Ocala. So this was actually the sixth straight year that we've been with USPKS at GoPro. So obviously the first time I was ever there was with USPKS in April 2013. It was a rainy, cold weekend. So yeah, I mean you know, you don't necessarily want that, but just, you know, this and it's not always this type of weather in North Carolina. It was near record heat indexes. So again, you know, we're setting records wherever we go. Phoenix, we set records for high temp. You know, North Carolina, we're almost setting records for heat index. So, yes, I would definitely like to be there in March and April as long as it doesn't rain. But, you know, again, if it doesn't rain this weekend or if the heat index wasn't so high, it'd be perfect racing weather.
So, David, I was listening to some of the broadcast, and as I said, the racing sounded like it was fantastic. Also, you know, obviously watching on the EKN live page, you can see live timing as well. It seemed like pretty solid numbers this year.
Yeah, the numbers this year were very good. The event was actually up from Ocala, so that was a plus. We nearly broke last year's high that was set at Newcastle with 138 this weekend in Mooresville. So it wasn't quite as big as what Newcastle was last year. But again, I think Newcastle will be even bigger than Mooresville was this weekend. So it was.
What do you attribute that to?
The 2 weekends before the Supercarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, that definitely draws in a lot more competitors who or out of the area. Say a lot of West Coast drivers making their way up over Pacific Northwest, Texas people. A lot of people last year came to Newcastle to get ready for the Summer Nats. So I'm expecting kind of the same situation where I think most racers tend to use a race weekend as a testing session rather than just going there and busting down hundreds of laps all by yourself. So I think that's going to help bring the numbers, hopefully even more than 138 at Newcastle in July.
What do you think about the addition of the Miami Masters category? I think that's probably has been a really good, added benefit or added class, added push in terms of a different demographic for USPKS.
Well, it was a demographic that wasn't really focused on here on the East Coast. There's really no place for Masters drivers to go race other than club and maybe a couple of regional programs here or there. We see the F Series has like a gentleman's club or like a semi-pro category. So you're seeing good numbers there. But nationally, USPKS used to have a Masters class. Chuck Raffar was the inaugural champion. But it kind of went away after that because just the numbers weren't supportive there. But now that people are getting more behind it and see the benefit that USPKS has to offer, it was kind of a win-win. People thought it would have been better to do KA, but KA is not quite there yet. I think in terms of Masters racers, we have a lot of the Masters drivers are on the X30s now, whether it be in Florida, in the Northeast, in the Midwest. That's kind of what it's been is a joint effort of all these racers from all these different regions coming together at the USPKS. And with 17 racers in Ocala, 18 this weekend, it was pretty good.
When you look at the class numbers, what are the high points for you? I see that 30 guys in Miami Pro, which I think is big. Other than that, are there others that you say, hey, you know what? I see growth here?
Well, it was good to see the 30 number again, pro. That's something we haven't seen. We saw last year in Newcastle, and that was the only other time. Up until then, 30 was the average that we typically saw throughout the season in the pro category. But, so it's good to see that growth again at that age group, that 15 and over. Because, again, with another topic for another podcast, we're seeing a lot of guys going away a little bit too early. So it's good to see that. But yeah, you're just adding in the KA numbers. Obviously last year we had the senior category and that averaged over 20. We had 22 there in GoPro, but 17 in KA junior. It's the KA program is definitely growing at the club and regional level, and having it at the USPKS, it provides them an extra opportunity to compete against others from around the East Coast. So. Again, in terms of numbers, we're seeing growth in all the categories. So it was a win-win weekend for the program.
Sounds good. Folks, episode number 26 of the EKN Debrief, David Cole breaking down his recent trip to the USPKS event at GoPro in Mooresville, North Carolina. Stick with us. When we come back after this break, David's going to talk a bit about what happened inside the paddock. From coast to coast, Miami has become the two-cycle engine of choice for American karting. Starting with the air-cooled 60cc Swift engine and moving through to the incredible X30 power plant, Miami is providing much-needed stability for the sport. The Swift and X30 engines are the backbone of the Supercarts USA Pro Tour and Pro Kart Challenge Series, as well as the USPKS, the Route 66 Sprint Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup. We're thrilled to introduce the new Miami KA100 Rejet engine with a special introductory price of just $16.95 until the end of February. The new engine is getting rave reviews and will be part of the USPKS, Route 66, and WKA Man Cup programs in 2018. Watch for more regions of the country to get on board with this new formula. We have 2 distribution centers in the U.S. to serve you well. Miami East in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Miami West in Temecula, California. The momentum is continuing to build, so it's time to make an investment in stabilizing your engine program. For more information on IAME, head to the website for your region, IAMEUSAEast.com or IAMEUSAWest.com. Since 2003, K1 Race Gear has been a one-stop shop for all your indoor and outdoor karting needs. From racing shoes, suits, and driving gloves to chest protectors, rib vests, accessories, and bags, K1 Race Gear provides quality karting products for the enthusiast and the professional alike. We have an incredible lineup of K1 karting suits designed to fit everyone's budget. Check out our entry-level GK2, the new Apex 2, and our top-of-the-line Speed 1 suit. Then, choose from our Apex and RS1 karting gloves and add in our K1 shoes, rib protectors, and neck collars. If you need a custom suit to support your sponsors, we can create a custom look as unique as you are. As you would expect, our custom suits are made to order. With pricing as low as $495, you're sure to find a suit that not only satisfies your racing needs, but is easy on the wallet as well. We take care of all of our customers at K1 Race Gear, not just the ones with deep pockets. Visit K1RaceGear.com today and get everything you need for your next racing season. Welcome back to episode number 26 of the EKN Debrief. David Cole and Rob Howden breaking down the most recent event of the United States Pro Kart Series, the Carolina Grand Prix from GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. We're going to move now into the Paddock Pass, brought to you this episode by Acceleration Kart Racing. Acceleration Kart Racing has everything you need to go racing, from tires to helmets. They have a great website for you to order from, and kart racers ready to pick up the phone and answer your questions 6 days a week. With over 20 years of kart racing under their belts, Acceleration Kart Racing has the experience to help you succeed on track. You can rely on them to get the parts you need when you need them. Make Acceleration Kart Racing your go-to source for everything karting. All right, David, jumping in. Lots actually going on, I think, in the paddock. Maybe more than usual. There's a little bit of industry news. We got the return of a pro driver. You got some actually a lot of industry news because a legend's at the racetrack. We've got some equipment being debuted. There's a heck of a lot going on in the paddock.
There was this weekend. Obviously, the biggest news that was going around, and I didn't really notice because I got there late Friday, was the split between the Bennick duo. Ben Crittenden and Nick Mitchell have parted ways. Ben is moving on with his own team operation, going to focus solely on just operating a team, and has worked out a relationship with OTK. So he had a couple drivers, one of them being Kai Sorensen on the OTK product. So that'll be something interesting to watch. Obviously, it was his first weekend on the OTK product, the Tony Kart. And so it was, kind of what we were kind of keeping an eye on that throughout the weekend. Nick is continuing on with the Bennick brand. So, obviously some drivers have gone away from the Bennick brand. Some drivers have stayed with it, and some have just moved on to other teams or brands chassis makes. So that'll be interesting to watch and see how things unfold moving forward with that situation.
That's pretty solid news because obviously Ben and Nick really did kind of fire things up in terms of the cadet classes, the micro and mini with their chassis line and their team. That's some pretty serious information, I think.
Well, I was talking with a couple of people about it. They really hit an area in the market that wasn't really being looked at. It had been previously in the past by other chassis manufacturers and race teams. One of them we talked about was Novoso. The Novoso kart was very popular in the early 2000s, and it was solely on the cadet model. We saw a lot of domination by the Burrell brand under the MRP tent. A lot of a Sage Karam was one of them, so that kind of helped that brand grow in the cadet model. Another interesting one, David, was the Juncos brand. Obviously, Ricardo Juncos now all the way into the Verizon IndyCar Series with his team, but he started with his own cadet chassis. Yeah, that was like I think part of the Novoso type area. Yep. Around that time. Obviously he only kept it going for a few years. Same with Novoso before they parted ways with the karting part of their organization. But yeah, so they kind of just came in and focused on that one area and did a very successful job doing it. So it'll be interesting to see how things unfold. Where people go, where people end up, what. I think product wise, I think people will be all right with, going with maybe non-Benick branded material. So we'll see.
So a couple of big names in the paddock as well. It was good to see Scott Speed back.
Yeah, it was good to see him. Obviously, I believe he still lives in the North Carolina area. So it was kind of a home race for him at Mooresville, joining his Speed Concepts racing operation, led by his father and brother, Mike and Alex. I tell you what, things don't change under that tent. They are at it 100%. It's go or no go type attitude. So they were definitely working hard at it. This time, instead of racing in Miami Masters, which he won in Ocala, in the one race that he did, he elected to go in Miami Pro. Ran top 10 throughout the weekend. Had the pace to run up top 10. Obviously some issues here and there kind of hampered his results. Qualified fourth on Sunday, but just wasn't able to produce that type of result in the finals on the weekend. But still, good to see. Father's Day weekend, he got to spend time with his dad. Obviously, his two daughters there. With him as well. So, a good family weekend for the Speeds.
That's awesome. I like to hear that having them all together at the track. And I think it's cool that he's coming back. I like the fact that they jumped into Miami Pro. I think that's good. And obviously he'll have a good season this year running in the new Rallycross series. All right. Who else do we have in the paddock? Anybody else?
One of the most legendary karters around the world, Terry Fullerton, was once again there in Mooresville, there to provide assistance and tutelage for the drivers on his chassis brand, the Fullerton. Obviously, Austin Garrison has done a phenomenal job this season aboard that. Kind of had an up and down weekend for him. Another one, Blake Hunt, in the KA 100 category as well. A challenging weekend for him. But, it's always good to see a legend like Terry at the racetrack coming back overseas and helping out his chassis model.
Agreed. I always like when Terry comes into town. We usually see him at the Supernats as well, and good for him to come out to Mooresville for that USPKS race. Now, we talked about Benick. You talked about Scott Speed and Terry Fullerton being there, but again, I think one of maybe even the biggest news. I'm not sure if the biggest news, but technically wise, OTK essentially debuting their new front fairing.
I think the word you're looking for is visual impact. Visual impact. Yes, because. Yeah. The new OTK fairing made its debut here at the USPKS, and I think really the first USA events for it. A lot of people are jumping on board with it just because it's that new flashy, unique look that people kind of grab on and go with. They think, oh, it's going to get me 210s. Oh, it's so cool, I need to have it. But on the other end, you have all these innuendos regarding the look and how it really, what you could do with it type deal. So it was quite interesting to see it, and taking photos of it out there. It really reminded me of the Hager road racing fairing that they implemented, I think, more than 2 decades ago for road racing, and is still being used at the road race events. It just it has that curvature that from the very bottom all the way to the top of the steering wheel that reminds me of the Hager thing. It's just everything around it that just have people kind of laughing at it, but also people liking it.
What was the overall feel? Did you get a feel for people saying no way, it's ugly, I don't like it, or like it? I think you mentioned in your notes that it didn't come out and win any races, so it's not like it all of a sudden won races and people have to have it. It's
not. I mean, that's a thing. Again, we're sprint racing. The aerodynamics may factor in a little bit, but I think we'll find out more maybe at Newcastle, to be honest, where the speeds are going to get probably well above 60 miles an hour, 70, maybe even 80 in the shifter category. So I think there we'll maybe see a trend towards this, and maybe even the Paralympic fairing, which, in an Instagram poll that we started this weekend, the Paralympic fairing actually won over the OTK in terms of more appealing, I think. But again,
okay. Interesting.
Until we have an actual comparison on track, we won't really know what these will do at high speeds. At least in my opinion.
Now, there's some input from David Cole, and again, that is our Paddock Pass segment on this episode of the EKN Debrief. David's breaking down the USPKS Carolina Grand Prix that took place last weekend at GoPro Motorplex. On the other side of this break, folks, it's time to start talking racing. The Race Report up next. For top quality kart racing east of the Mississippi, check out the United States Pro Kart Series and the Route 66 Sprint Series, two incredible series supported passionately by MG Tires and IAME USA East. As a 3-race program in 2018, the United States Pro Kart Series will complete its season at the Hoosier State Grand Prix on July 27th, 28th, 29th at Newcastle Motorsports Park in Indiana. If you're looking for the finest series featuring top-notch IAME X30, KA100, and Mini Swift competition, come race with us at Newcastle. Check out www.uspks.com for all the information you'll need. If fun and affordable regional racing in Wisconsin, Indiana, and Illinois fits into your idea of a great weekend at the track, the Route 66 Sprint Series will be returning to Road America at the end of June to race at the repaved C-Tech Manufacturing Motorplex on June 29th, 30th, and July 1st. Route 66 offers Yamaha, KA100, and Swift classes and is one of the most popular and well-run programs in the United States. To learn more, head to www.route66kartracing.com. In racing, you always want to be focused on improvement. Improving your driving, your braking, your lines, and your understanding of chassis dynamics. At the Rawls Performance Group, we specialize in driver development and providing a platform to maximize every opportunity for success. Our staff is made up of multi-time national champions, Super Nationals winners, and Team USA members. We're dedicated to your development, your constant improvement, and your success. Our goal is to help you raise your game and win races. It's what we do. We win. RPG can provide training and trackside support for many of the sport's biggest programs. In 2018, we will be running the SuperKart USA Pro Tour, Winter Series, the Super Nationals, and both the California Pro Kart Challenge and the Can-Am Karting Challenge. If you're looking forward to 2018 and you want to explode out of the gate to put in the best season of your life, call us to reserve a space under our tent for the inaugural SCUSA Winter Series. We'll be in Florida to win championships, and we'd love to have you with us. Welcome back to episode number 26 of the EKN Debrief. Rob Howden alongside David Cole. David was trackside for the USPKS Carolina Grand Prix at GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. Time for us now to jump in to the race report. Go class by class, giving you the update on who won the races, who stood out in terms of maybe David's opinions. This episode, or this edition of the race report, presented by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the new state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy offers custom coaching programs for newcomers and experienced racers alike. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. So, David, race report time. Let's kick off with the big dogs. Let's start with IAME Pro.
Yeah, IAME Pro with, again, 30 drivers, which is always good to see. Big field, so obviously a lot of racing going on. But up front, it was the Brandon Jarzakrak show with Money showing the way all weekend long, leading every on-track session aboard his Kart Sport North America Kart Republic machine. The defending champion scored maximum points, definitely puts him back into the championship chase. Kind of an on-off weekend he had in Ocala, so this definitely helps him put him back in there up against Austin Garrison, who was was as dominant in Ocala as he was in Mooresville. So the top challenger on the weekend was the Merlin USA driver Austin Schaff. Definitely had the pace to challenge for against Jarzakrak. Wasn't quite able to catch him on Saturday, so he had a runner up there. Sunday had his best shot. Actually took the lead for a brief second before Jarzakrak took it back, and then got shuffled all the way back out of the top 5, but was managed to get his way back up into the second spot by the checkered flag. So
nice to see him able to work his way back up there. That's oftentimes a big thing for a young driver, right? To get shuffled back and then realize you have the ability to work your way back to second. That's solid.
Well, yeah, for Schaff, it was only his third weekend in the senior category. So
wow.
It's still a learning curve. Plus, he had a new chassis this weekend. So the Merlin was working perfect for him. I think he's more comfortable with it. And he's just, again, just has to continue to work on that racecraft against these very experienced senior drivers, especially going up against, say, a Jarzakrak or Jake Donald or Austin Garrison, guys like these. So it'll be interesting to see how he does at Newcastle. But rounding out the podium, Armin Kapkusik was third on Saturday. Alex Bertignoli made it 2 Kart Republics on Sunday, along with 2 Team FMS drivers. Bertignoli running under the Franklin Motorsports banner. He took third on Saturday, so that was his second trip to the podium this season. Actually, Austin Garrison finished second on Sunday, having a great drive from the tail of the field all the way up to second. But a bumper penalty once again cost him 2 positions and knocked him off the podium. So,
ouch! That'll leave a mark.
And believe me, he wasn't the only one to either lose positions by the bumper or by unavoidable contact. So there's a lot of penalties still being handed out. That's for sure on the weekend.
When we do the wrap up at the end of the podcast here, the debrief, I'm going to ask you about exactly that. We're going to talk racecraft, but then you can do that in the wrap up.
Yeah. So continuing on to KA100, I think one of the karting community's favorite drivers is veteran TJ Coyen. Very personable, talkable person. Everybody loves his artwork at Octane Visual. All the helmets he does, and they know they can go to TJ for a lot of new people go to TJ for advice and guidance and setup, and it was good to see him actually do what he hasn't done in the first 5 years of the USBKS, which is actually win a main event. So Coyen was without a doubt the most consistent driver throughout the weekend, and was able to win both main events on the weekend. He didn't quite have the fastest kart. His innovative Esprit was fast, but wasn't the fastest. But obviously, being the veteran, drove smart, drove consistent, knew exactly where to be in certain situations. I think he qualified 4th one day and 8th the next. So again, didn't quite have the outright speed, but the race pace and consistency was there all weekend long.
That's pretty solid to do. And as you said, just to update people, again, 22 drivers in the KA100 category too. So it's not like it was a small category. It was a good, 11-row start. So for TJ Coyen, I'm sure he was thrilled to get back to where he's been before and knocking out some race wins.
Well, yeah, not to mention the KA100 field is you could probably say that first half had the ability to win. And at nice. One point in the pre-final, I believe the lead pack was 11 guys until some contact actually shuffled them up, and that allowed TJ to actually take the pre-final win because he went from 6th to 3rd, because of contact. So again, it's finding the right places to be at the right time. So
no doubt.
Rounding out the weekend for that category, Dusty Davis ran second on Saturday. Emery Lida, another senior rookie, getting his best result at the series with a runner-up in his series debut in the senior category. Mike McAndrews made a return back to the series, a former champion. A number of podium and victories for him in Yamaha and Tag Junior, a number of years at the USPKS. He was able to run third both days on the Fullerton. So again, working with veteran tuner Chris Lobaugh and Kevin Nelson on the engine. A great weekend for McAndrews. Always good to see him at the kart track. Another great driver. respected driver, very crafty, and very fast driver as well.
Nice. And good to see Mike come back. And again, like as you said, Terry Fullerton's here. They got the full crew around him. Always good to see Mike back at the track. Let's move into Miami Junior, David. Pretty good field. 16 drivers up 5 from the opening round. So a nice group of drivers. And Jeremy Fairburn stepping up and really making the weekend a memorable one for him.
He did. The field was probably a little bit more stacked than it was in Ocala, not to mention deeper, but also a little bit more stronger in terms of drivers that were there. So Fairburn making his USPCast debut for the season, came out and was quick, was probably top 3 throughout the entire weekend. I don't think he fell anywhere outside the top 3 in his Jay Howard driver development. Cosmic was able to come away with the win on Saturday and the win on Sunday. Contending against Luca Mars, Matthew Dunkovich, and Canadian Justin Arsenault all weekend long.
You know, it always impresses me because in a junior category, you're going to get those 5-6 guys in that lead pack. Sometimes it's less, but 4 or 5 guys are in that lead pack. They're dicing back and forth. We saw it at the SCUSA race, the Spring Nationals, when Arias Dukmedjian was able to come to the forefront in both races and win. And to see young drivers, when you roll off the trailer quick and you're able to really kind of manage your race weekend, you're not just getting one win and struggling in the next one. When you can get it done on both days, I always just think that's because the competition's so high. That's what's impressive to me, to be able to how that weekend kind of evolves. Everybody's trying to get their chassis better for Sunday, but then to be able to come back and go back to back, that's always super impressive to me. Very.
And throughout the weekend, it was typically a 3-driver, maybe 4-driver lead pack. With those four drivers that I just mentioned. So it was kind of a game of chess throughout the weekend. Sometimes it looked like Mars had the advantage, and then Fairburn would come in, and then Dunkovich and Arsenault kind of threw it at them, but Fairburn came away with it at the end both days. So it was good. Nice. Saturday, Dunkovich and Mars stood on the podium with him. And then on Sunday, again, like I said, Fairburn led the majority of the race on Sunday. Arsenault had a great drive in the main event, bounced back from what appeared to be a sprained wrist. He brought out a red flag in the pre-final after a hard hit with one of the barriers there. So actually went to the hospital, got his arm checked out, made sure nothing was broken, came back, started dead last, and drove his way all the way up to second, working past Mars on the final circuit to take second. So it was a really stellar drive. Obviously, having the tires, not going through the whole pre-final kind of helped him a little bit, but to be able to manage a sprained wrist and hang on the way he did was pretty remarkable.
Wow, and a track like GoPro as well. It's got some corners where you're just really having to hold that. You're obviously straining the wrists. That's impressive. Well done on him. That's solid.
Yeah, I would think he was trying to drive as much one-handed as he possibly could.
Just resting that hand in the lap every once in a while, right? All right, let's move into KA 100 Junior. Obviously, new category for the season. Talk to us a little bit about what you saw there.
Yeah, this being the second event with the series, had some newer racers in there, including Luca Mars, who wasn't in Ocala. So Luca did a double duty weekend, racing both the X30 and the KA100 categories. Wasn't able to pull off wins in the X30 class, but won both races in the KA100 junior category. Saturday was a photo finish, holding off Gray Ledbetter at the line by 0.02 of a second for the victory.
Wow.
Donald Wharton ended up a close third in that race. Once again on Sunday, Ledbetter was there fighting with Mars and Eric Evans, driver under the racing with actually Xander Clements, one of his drivers that was there. So those three was the lead group on Sunday. Mars was able to get away on the final circuit, and then Ledbetter and Evans kind of were going back and forth for second. And so as Mars was making his way through the final corner, those two got together on the entry, which allowed Mars to cruise to the checkered flag. And as with their contact, that allowed Brooke Natchman to slide past for second and Wharton through for third. So it was an exciting finish that obviously didn't end well for Ledbetter or Evans, but overall was still a great race.
No, that's that final corner at GoPro. I dig it. It's one of those corners that really, I think, because of the complex of corners coming into that last corner, really sets up for that dive bomb move, that aggressive move to try to get the position. It's one thing I really like about that racetrack. I like tracks that have that final corner really build up to see who's going to win.
Well, it's probably one of the most challenging corners at the racetrack to pass at. I was told that a couple of times because I'll get into that during the IME Masters class, and because it's not a straight shot to the corner to the turn-in point. It's a bend because there's that little kink that you have there right before you start braking to make the turn. So, we've seen a number of races with contact there. I won't mention some other names, but it's it's a very tricky area to do it. But it in a typical race pace type deal where you're keeping the outside line to set up for the corner, it's a great passing opportunity as long as you don't overhit the apex and then shoot off on the exit. So it's a fun corner to watch.
We got 3 categories still to go through this race report that's being brought to you this episode by Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Stay with us. We're going to talk IME Masters, Mini Swift, and Micro Swift when we get back from this break.
The 2018 season is just around the corner, and Trinity Karting Group is fired up and ready to take up the challenge. We're a full-service racing operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. We utilize Tony Kart, OTK, and IANI products, and we're your source for Avinco tires in the Midwest. For 2018, we have Arrive and Drive race programs available for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series and the Pro Tour, the WK Manufacturers Cup, and of course, the KRA Series at Newcastle Motorsports Park. If you have your own equipment, we can provide the trackside support you need to take your program to the next level. If you're interested in running with a professional team with full support, coaching, and hospitality, give us a call. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We pride ourselves on our professional approach and our positive attitude. Driver development is a big part of our program, and if your desire is to graduate into Formula Car racing, we are the official karting feeder operation for Team Pelfrey, the championship-winning junior Formula squad on the Mazda Road to Indy. If IndyCar is your ultimate goal, we can help pave the way. Let us build a custom race program for you. If you're new to the sport or a seasoned pro, we can take care of your kart racing desires. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. Quality, innovation, and a commitment to success. That's TB Kart USA. Within a sea of mainstream chassis, TB Kart USA is taking the American karting market by storm, winning races all over the country. We have a full lineup of chassis for all categories, beginning with our Kid and Cadet karts. For Yamaha and Tag, we offer our S55 line of chassis. And for the shifter drivers, our TB Kart S197 is the perfect fit. If you're a Briggs 206 racer, you need our purpose-built 4-cycle chassis that's based on our proven TB Kart S55 geometry. If you're looking for a team to race with, give us a call. We offer all levels of support, local and national events. We are here to help get you your personal racing program to the next level. Team TB Kart USA is here to work with you in achieving your goals. For more information, check us out online at www.tbkartusa.com.
Welcome back to the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network, episode number 26. David Cole breaking down the most recent US PKS race, the Carolina Grand Prix, halfway point of the season at GoPro Motorplex. David, let's jump back into the race report again, brought to you by the Allen Rudolph Racing Academy. Miami Masters, good field of Masters drivers. And again, we talked from the very beginning about the fact that this really has given the East Coast Masters guys a place really to focus on, right? There are a lot of those guys run the SCUSA Pro Tour, but to be able to get 3 more big events with the USPKS, 18 drivers making the call in North Carolina.
It does, and it helps to go to racetracks that people want to go to with Ocala and GoPro and Newcastle. So it definitely helps. And again, the racers spoke up and the series listened, and that's something that you always want to see. You always want to see the promoters and series working together with the racers themselves. So it's good to see that. On track wise, though, Laurentio Mardan, probably one of the top Masters drivers over the last year. Was able to grab his first victory on the new Techno Kart. So sweeping the action on Saturday, nice. He was very dominant throughout the day. The next day was a little bit different. Second place on Saturday was Logan Kuzi. And taking the third spot was Danny Robertson after a number of penalties were handing out, including disqualification for weight for new Masters driver Scott Kopp. Kopp, long time.
Should have had another hamburger.
It was probably the first time he had to put weight on in probably years. So
since junior.
But it was actually loss of fuel. The vent tube came out and was spilling fuel early on in the race. So a little bit of fuel over the first couple of laps, I think, cost him that half pound that he lost, or that he was up short. So it was That's because again, Kopp was next to Mardan, was probably the second quickest driver on the weekend. Aside from Scott Roberts, who on Sunday just found the right things to change and had the right pace and just kind of dominated the day. Mardan was the fast qualifier, but after that, Roberts just kind of took control and just drove away for the pre-final win, and then again in the main event for a 7-second victory over Mardan. So Roberts definitely needed that after 2 DNFs in Ocala and then another DNF on Saturday due to contact. So, but again, Kopp, who I said was probably the second quickest guy out there, came from the tail of the field after DNF in the pre-final for contact, fought his way all the way forward, all the way to the second pack that was behind Roberts. They're kind of fighting for third, mostly because Mardan kind of had second locked up there in the closing laps. But Kopp, I think, had probably 5 or 6 laps consistently where he passed in the final corner for position cleanly, no hard overtaking. Just again, if you set a driver up perfectly, just right where you get to the apex before they do, it's kind of your corner, and you make the exit a lot cleaner than they do, and it was pretty cool to see. So we kept calling it the Kopp corner during.
Well, how many, David? How many times have I said it in a broadcast? Right, you own the apex, you own the exit, and especially at that corner, if you get to the apex first, you're the guy in the you're the first guy back onto the throttle all the way down from the final corner to turn 1. So, good job for Kopp to getting the job done in the Kopp corner, as you say.
Yeah, so he got it done, but as soon as he got up there to fight for third, Cozy kind of had a little bit to respond. So they kind of went back and forth the final couple of laps. Cozy came across the line in the third position, but a penalty to him gave the position to Kopp. So Kopp earning a podium finish in his Masters debut.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to Mini Swift. I know that was a pretty solid group of drivers, 18 in total in the Mini Swift class, and I think we're seeing the development of some really good talent in both micro and mini. You get these kids that are really starting to understand the racecraft and the events that we see. I know the race I saw at Texas Pro Kart Challenge 2 weeks ago was thrilling. I'm sure you had exactly the same thing in Mini Swift down at GoPro.
It was, because I think the entire field was the lead pack. I mean, it really was, and unless like some contact shuffled up the group, it was really anybody's ball game throughout the weekend. But obviously, when you qualify up front, it really helps, and that kind of led Sebastian NG and Adam Brickley to be able to leave the weekend with a victory to each of them. NG was the dominant driver on Saturday, nearly pulling off a sweep, but Brickley had a heat win in there, so it wasn't a complete sweep. But Brickley gave him challenge throughout the entire final. and NG was able to beat Brickley at the line for the victory. Paige Crawford had a solid third position as the rest of the field battled for fourth behind them. On Sunday, Brickley kind of took the reins and was the driver to beat on Sunday after Miguel Costa qualified P1. He got kind of shuffled back in the pre-final. Brickley kind of went and took off, won the pre-final, and then it was a fight throughout the final with NG. This one ended up being decided in the last corner, the cop corner, where NG just gave Brickley enough room to get to the inside. And again, like you said, if you're at the apex, you own it. And Brickley took it and was able to race his way to the stripe and the checkered flag for the victory, just ahead of Paige Crawford and Jace Park, who were able to slip past NG in that final corner again for second and third.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. What about the young guys and girls in the micro Swift category?
Micro Swift was again the Ben Mayer and Caleb Gaffar show. Each of them took a victory of their own, as they did in Ocala. So it was kind of a repeat, except this time we had Gavin Bushell up there battling with them.
Hey,
Ocala. Yep.
Is this another weekend with Ben Mayer Ben Mayer with a win?
Well, again, he left Pittsburgh without a win.
That's the only one, but he gets right back on the horse. That's good for him. He got
right back on the horse. He did.
Probably.
I
remember I was talking about that.
Yeah, almost could have had both wins, but again, Gaffar stealing the one victory on Sunday. Bushell has been really good over the last 2 months. Kind of a new driver to the Nitro Kart roster. So he and Mayer kind of dueled it out for the victory on Saturday, and Mayer was able to come away. And Max Garcia placing third in his Kart Republic debut at Kart Sport North America. Sunday, Gaffar ended up joining Gavin and Mayer at the front of the field. This time wasn't shuffled back or losing the draft, and fought his way and hung on with the two leaders. Mayer and Gavin kind of went back and forth for the lead as kind of Gaffar kind of hung on. And then finally on the last lap, took the lead and was able to shut the door on both Mayer and Bushell for the victory and leading the last and only circuit.
That's going to be a pretty solid championship battle, I think, in that category.
It's going to be tight with Mayer and Gaffar each winning 2 races and finishing either second, third, or fourth here or there. It's going to come down to maybe the last lap on Sunday at Newcastle. We'll have to wait and see.
I like that. You start going head to head, you finish going head to head. That's awesome. Well, folks, there you go. That's the race report from David Cole, who was trackside all weekend long at GoPro Motorplex. And again, thank you to Alan Rudolph Racing Academy for presenting our race report here, episode number 26 of the EKN Debrief. David, that wraps things up from that. I'm happy to hear it. Let's jump into the EKN Trackside Live race calendar. Let's cap off this podcast and chat a little bit about where we're going to be going over the next month. This particular run through the calendar presented by Nitro Kart. If you've got a racer just starting out in cadet racing or already racing but ready to take the next step onto the podium, you need a Nitro Kart. 2018 has already seen many Nitro Kart driver score wins in SCUSA, WKA, and USPKS competition, and even more at the club level. Whether you're racing 2-cycle or 4-cycle, Nitro Kart has you covered with the best cadet chassis on the market. Nitro Kart, race one or chase one. All right, David, we're going to hit 4 events that we have on the EKN Trackside Live Tour presented by Cooper Tires. July 13th, 14th, 15th. Essentially, I don't know how this happened, but you get a month off to hang out at home. That's solid.
Yeah, hanging out at home. That's exactly what I'm doing. Trying to fit in a race here or two, maybe for me. Take the family there. We'll see what happens. But
that's what I want to hear.
Yeah. But again, after this break, it's nonstop go as we know in this business. So
no doubt. So July 13th, 14th, 15th, you're off to Concept Hullers Motor Speedway in Norway, Illinois, the old school track that had many major series: the WK Constructors Championship, Manufacturers Cup, SCUSA Pro Tour, or Pro Moto Tour back then. The WK Manufacturers Cup, though, heading back for their event middle of July.
Yep, and it's going to be the site of the Throwdown, the Franklin Motorsports Throwdown, KA 100 category. The coveted sword, Throwdown sword, is coming back and is going to be up for grabs Sunday main event. So that'll be exciting to see. And then also WK has the discounted entry fees for all the Yamaha categories, whether it be senior or sportsman. So that'll be fun to watch.
Take it. A week later, I'm back. Actually, that weekend when you're at Concept Haulers, I'm in Toronto for the IndyCar race and the Mazda Road to Indy. Week later, though, I get to go back and smell some kart fuel and some kart oil. Texas Pro Kart Challenge out at the Amarillo Kart Circuit on July 20th, 21st, and 22nd. I'm super jacked to get out to that racetrack. Local guy in Amarillo finds shifter karts, loves them. I want to say he's a dentist or an orthodontist. He goes, I need a place to drive my kart. So he builds his own racetrack 10 miles outside Amarillo. It's a copy of the Formula One track in Istanbul, Turkey. And the rave reviews from guys that were on it last year. I'm hearing Josh Lane's going to come out to play. I've been told there probably is going to be a team coming in from Colorado. There's some SCUSA drivers from the Pro Kart Challenge in California. They're going to come out to play. I'm pretty jacked to get out to Amarillo. I love coming to tracks I've never been to before. And like you, I'm going to do whatever I can to see if I can't, get behind the wheel of something. I got to go out and get a couple laps in this place. That's July 20, 21, 22. It'll be a hot one. There's no In-N-Out burger right out there, which is a little bit of a disappointment. But the Big Texan is there, so we'll see.
Well, if we all had some land like that, wouldn't we all want to build our own racetrack?
Would you not? No doubt.
Some people actually in the Wisconsin area do, I think. I think a couple racers have like a mini go-kart track. Hell, the Taylors have one, or Hayden Duersons down in Florida have one in their driveway. So again,
it's their front driveway.
Yeah, it's possible. It may not be the most safest thing to do, but this one in Amarillo looks phenomenal, and
it does.
It does. Has to be a place you want to go to.
So we are the EKN Trackside Live program. We'll be banging them out. So David's at Manufacturers Cup at Norway. A week later, I go to Texas Pro Kart Challenge again, all live on the EKN Radio Network on EKN.
eKartingnews.com/live, Rob. Can we remember that?
Not on the radio network. Not on the radio network. Later on, it'll be on the radio network once you get the files up. So I go to Texas a week later. You're to Newcastle. And you spent a lot of time in Newcastle, but you're going to Newcastle July 27, 28, 29, USPKS finale. All the guys that we just talked about, the classes we talked about, the great racing we talked about, it heats up at Newcastle because it's time to crown the champions.
There is no championship decided yet, that's for sure. A lot of different contenders in all the 7 IAME categories there. KA is going to be exciting to watch. The IAME Pro, IAME Junior is kind of a toss-up with 2 drivers who have only been to one event winning, so it kind of puts the mid-packers in at top of the podium or at top of the championship standings. So a lot of different scenarios that could happen throughout that weekend. Not to mention all of the Pro Tour guys that are coming into the prep.
Yeah. I was just going to say, so let's shine the essentially the national spotlight on Newcastle Motorsports Park for a couple of weeks. July 27, 28, 29, the finale for the USPKS. Just 2 weeks later, we're live again on EKN, the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour Summer Nationals, which is the finale as well. So back-to-back finales separated by about 10 days, USPKS and SCUSA Pro Tour at Newcastle. And as you said, David, there's going to be people coming in to the USPKS race to try to get a feel for it. And then they're going to come to the SCUSA race 2 weeks later. We'll be there, of course, live on EKN. Man, that race is going to be big. I'm excited about Newcastle. I think I expect they're going to be back to probably 230, 240, 250 in terms of entries.
It's Newcastle. It's a place we all want to go to. It's a place people want to win at. It's a place where people have a lot of experience and maybe haven't quite won there yet. So lots of different opportunities to be there and to win. Not to mention WK is going to be there the next month after. So three Newcastle events, not to mention all the other different special events they have going on at Newcastle, Indiana. So always a great place to go to.
Let's wrap up this debrief, episode number 26, this particular episode presented by Cartlift. David, to wrap up the weekend, let's talk weather, let's talk racing. I want to talk racecraft a little bit. I know we've got about 2 or 3 minutes left here in the podcast. Go into the weather, talk a little bit about the overview, but then let's come back and talk a bit about what your thoughts were in terms of racecraft and what that the pushback bumper has been doing so far for USPKS.
Well, yeah, that's good. I actually forgot to mention about something, because something that somebody mentioned to me on the weekend was the X30 and the K100. They're kind of producing pack racing, and it's something that we didn't used to see with the old tag formats or even in, say, Rotax racing, because there was always those 1 or 2 or 3 people that would just kind of walk away. And, they had the engine package, they had the chassis package. Now it's really more focused on, it has to be the driver. And the engine packages are very similar, especially the KA100. It all really depends on the drivers hitting their marks and making sure the chassis is working to the abilities that they need it to be. So when you talk racecraft, I think that's one thing we also have to look at, is we have a lot more pack racing. So it in turn causes more contact, really, because we have so many different drivers vying for the same piece of real estate. But again, this weekend, the pushback bumpers, it does its job, especially at the starts. We don't see these 5 to 10 carts getting piled up in turn 1 on the opening lap that we used to see, especially in a field of 30 pros. The 30 pros got through the opening laps without any incidents whatsoever. So the pushback bumper is doing its job there, and people, there's still some naysayers about it. I being one, because I would just get rid of the front nose, period. But it's doing its job, and we're really seeing a better racecraft because of it.
You know what? That's good to hear. And if first and foremost, we're not getting those first lap, first corner things where, scenarios where guys and we see it all the time on people when they post their onboard camera, they just go barrel into turn number 1, hammer the guy in front of them, and hope they come out on the other side. If it's stopping that, and I know it is, it's stopped it at the SCUSA race we've seen so far for the most part. You're seeing it at the USPKS. If it's getting the job done, then the bottom line is it's good out of the box. No doubt about it. Dave, hot weekend for you. As you said, hot, humid, but some great racing. Any final words to cap off this debrief of the USPKS Carolina Grand Prix? Yeah,
I'm hoping Norway in a month won't be as a high heat index as it was in Mooresville.
Yeah, David, Illinois in July, never very warm.
Yeah, right. And I don't think you're gonna. We just need more shade around these racetracks. There's no trees.
Like a full bubble.
Yeah.
Maybe like a full umbrella.
Just a tree or two. Just something we can hide under.
A couple of trees, please. Yep. True enough. All right, Dave, thank you so much. What a great update from David Cole, the EKN Debrief on the most recent round of the USPKS series. Of course, David, as we said, will be heading to Newcastle Motorsports Park for their finale, which takes place on July 27th, 28th. 29th. Big thanks to Mark Coates, obviously a huge partner for EKN, asking us to come out and be part of the action with our EKN Trackside live coverage. And a big thank you to Tim Coyne as well, the voice of the USPKS. We're done. We've got a lot of races, as you said, but a little break in the action, at least for David and for the EKN Trackside Live. I've got a couple of IndyCar races to go to, Road America, Iowa, and Toronto before I'm back to a kart track, but excited to get out to the Texas Pro Kart Challenge again. News coming out about the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour as well. Pardon me, the Super Nationals. Hotel's now open. I saw that posted on EKN. David got it up. Excited to see that Super Nationals now on the horizon for this November as we head back to the Rio. That's going to wrap things up for this edition of the EKN Debrief on the EKN Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. On behalf of David Cole, I'm Rob Howden. Bye for now.